Recording. I've got you on speaker. To start off, Billy gave me a little bit of an overview of your history in the industry, but would you mind just kind of summarizing where you've been and how long you've been involved in guitar?
Well, I've been involved in guitars since the mid '60s. After I saw the Beatles and Ed Sullivan, I started learning to play guitar.
Mm-hmm.
And I after school, searching around for what I wanted to do, I actually went to work playing in bands, working music retail, teaching guitar, 5-string banjo, pretty much like everybody else, and then ended up working retail and teaching for probably 15 years, and ended up managing a fairly large store in Mansfield, Ohio, called Metronome Music.
Okay.
Still there after 55 years, I think. Around
Wow.
55 years. The original owner, Larry Miller, is still there. Great guy. Everything I know about the music business, I learned from Larry Miller.
Wow. Nice.
And great education there. So, and I went from there to Gibson, and I was with Gibson for well over 10 years. And with a stop at Hoshino in between.
Okay.
And then went to U.S. Music, which became KMC. You know, with all the
Brands.
takeovers and mergers and everything that they went through.
Right.
And then in 2018, I actually retired.
Oh.
And
okay.
I failed at retirement.
A lot of people do, from what I've heard.
Yeah, I stayed in the industry with KMC for about a year as a consultant, and then I went over and did the same thing with Supro for a few months, having a good time. And the folks from Two Old Hippies approached me and wanted me to be the director of sales, offered the job to me, and it was one of those things where I wasn't looking for a job. I didn't need the job, but I wanted this job.
I
It was,
see.
it was a great fit for me personally and professionally. I love the culture, I love the people, and I was always a big fan of the guitars.
Nice. Do you work
So here I
mainly
am.
with Breedlove or the Bedell or
Well, Two Old Hippies, which is Breedlove, Bedell, and Weber.
Okay.
All three brands. Yeah.
Okay. Very cool.
So you guys only do Breedlove, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, when I first started here about 5 or 6 years ago, we did have Bedells, but now it's just Breedlove. Yeah.
Yeah, those were the import Bedells.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So now all Bedells now are manufactured, hand built in Bend, Oregon. In my opinion, they're some of the best guitars being made today. So
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I know. The ones we had, I think that might have been right around the time they were changing because I think they were on like closeout deals with the import models.
yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
At Gibson and KMC, what were your roles?
Well, with Gibson, I was everything from a sales rep,
Uh-huh.
a regional sales manager, director of global sales, international sales, you name it. I did everything in sales at Gibson.
Okay.
But my final title at Gibson was director of global sales.
Oh, wow. Okay. So you were overseeing everything, all their accounts.
The entire
Wow.
the entire sales
Wow. Okay, and at
organization, yes.
at KMC?
And at KMC, I was a regional sales manager.
Okay. Got it.
And then my final thing there as a consultant was basically a sales trainer. But that's not really an important thing to put in.
Okay. Gotcha. So in those roles and over that span of time, I imagine you've seen the industry change a lot. What about
Drastically.
Yeah. So what are some of the biggest changes during your time there that you can tell me about?
Well, the most obvious and glaring change would be the internet,
Mm-hmm.
and digital communication in general. For example, looking at it from a manufacturer standpoint or a salesperson standpoint, when I started doing it back in the late '80s as a road rep, you had a stack of atlases, and you knew where all the payphones were, and you carried around a pile of catalogs and an order form.
Mm-hmm.
And in the early '90s, then the cell phones came in. They were prohibitively expensive, so you had to had to use your time wisely. But anyway, as time went on and the digital communications came into play, you morphed into being able to fax your orders in from your computer at night. You could use your GPS to get yourself around, so you no longer needed the atlases, you no longer needed the payphones, et cetera. So it was just a sea change from night and day for the sales rep, not having to carry so much paper, et cetera. And for the dealers themselves, the ability to market from rather than just their small geographic area was probably the biggest change in the business since I've been in it.
Yeah.
For example, let's take my personal experience. The store that I used to run was in a town roughly of 100,000 with, a pretty good population surrounding it.
Mm-hmm.
But that was our market. Occasionally we'd get people come in from 50 miles away, but, your market was your neighborhood.
Right.
And the big dog as far as outside sales would have been Musician's Trend, because they had a catalog,
Right.
and the catalog would come out however regularly it did. And that's where your real competition came from. And with the advent of the internet and online sales, you're not just confined to your geographic area. You can do the same amount of business out of your bedroom that you used to do out of a 10,000 square foot store.
Mm.
As long as you have a warehouse.
Right. Right. So that kind of
that's the biggest change, really.
Yeah.
It's obvious. It's the most obvious, but it's also the biggest.
And would you say overall it's been a positive or harmful for the industry, or did it just take some getting used to?
Well, the industry has grown.
Yeah.
The industry has grown by leaps and bounds. The independent dealers that managed to adapt to the changes grew with the changes as well. The ones who refused to adapt fell by the wayside, which is the way nature is. Survival of the fittest, etc.
Right.
But there's many stores that started out as just a brick and mortar, and turned into a powerhouse on the internet as far as e-sales, etc.
Yeah.
Guitar Center was one. Zounds is another.
Yeah.
And AMS, your parent company.
Mm-hmm.
They all started out brick and mortar.
Yeah. Yeah, we were lucky that, I wasn't around back in the brick and mortar days of Zounds, but yeah, it was definitely one of the ones that could adapt for sure.
Yeah, exactly. So that's so yeah. I think for that it was for the consumer.
Mm-hmm.
It was a vast improvement because the selection was there for them.
Yeah.
For the and price competition in some cases, but for the retailer, for the music retailer and the manufacturer, the market became that much broader.
Definitely. What about currently? Is the demand for electric guitars as strong as it was maybe 10, 20 years ago, in your opinion? Or from statistics that you would have?
Well, from the statistics that I see, certain areas of the electric guitar market are holding their own.
Mm-hmm.
certainly upper end stuff, collector items are moving. Entry level stuff seems to be switching more over to acoustic and acoustic electrics,
Oh, really?
particularly over the last few months.
With the quarantine, you think? Is that a factor?
I, this is not scientific evidence by any means.
Sure.
It's all anecdotal, but I believe that's what the case is.
Yeah.
I mean, acoustic sales online are through the roof, really.
Yeah, we've noticed that too. It sounds.
Yeah, but as far as electrics, now keep in mind that I'm somewhat removed from the electric world, but and have been for the last year. So what I'm talking about is my impressions of what's going on by talking to friends and acquaintances that are still involved in that world. But I think I'm not by any means saying electric guitars are out of fashion, because I'm a telly player. But at the same time, I think acoustic sales right now are far surpassing those of electric guitars.
Mm-hmm. Any idea?
You can look at your numbers and confirm that.
Yeah. Any ideas besides this virus of why that might be? Any bigger trends you've noticed?
Say that again. You broke up a little bit.
Oh, are there any other reasons for acoustic guitars, eclipsing electric guitars besides the coronavirus?
Yeah, there's probably several reasons. There aren't any real guitar heroes anymore.
Yeah.
The most influential guys are pretty much acoustic players. Whether Ed Sheeran or Tommy Emmanuel, those guys are all acoustic players.
Mm-hmm.
I don't really see any. I don't really see any guitar heroes on the horizon either that are coming through.
Yeah, at least not with the massive appeal that they had in Van Halen.
There hasn't been a Van Halen in a long time.
Yeah.
Let's put it that way.
Yeah.
Or a Slash for that matter.
Do you think it's important that happens for the electric guitar
I think so, yeah.
survive? Or
well, why did everybody in the United States start playing guitar in 1964 and 1965?
Yeah, the Beatles. Yeah,
the Beatles. Yeah, and occasionally John would pick up that Gibson J160, but for the most part they were playing electric guitars, and everybody had to have an electric guitar. And like for example, Les Pauls were not really being manufactured until Eric Clapton came out on the Blues Breaker album playing a Les Paul through a Marshall, and all of a sudden everybody had to play Les Pauls. So the whole thing is cyclical. But as far as today is concerned, there's just nobody out there that is moving. No one is new and hot and really has the charisma to pull all the young players in. Not to say that there's not still a lot of guys playing.
Yeah.
And not a lot, and there's still a lot of young people learning to play guitar, electric and otherwise. But there's just not that killer name out there and killer player that's exciting everyone.
Right. Yeah. And I would agree. It seems like there is a lot of music, because this article is also kind of tied into rock music in general, because a lot of people tie the fate of the electric guitar to rock music. So there's more out there than ever to listen to. I just think it's harder for any one band or one act to break through and have.
Oh, there's so much noise. Yeah, I mean it's hard to. You can't listen to everything anymore.
Yeah.
When I was buying, I'm still a big vinyl collector, and when I was first buying records, I listened to everything. I bought everything. I read all the Rolling Stone magazine album reviews. I heard everything that was out, and there were very few outlets to listen to it on the radio in those days. There were very few FM stations even that played a lot of stuff. Mm-hmm. But now, whether it's on your phone or whatever, you have access to every bit of music that's out there that's ever been recorded, plus all the new stuff, you just cannot keep up with it, and it's growing exponentially. So that you just can't keep up with it. And at the same time, I don't think there's a whole heck of a lot of great players out there that are moving the needle in terms of pulling the kids in and making them want to get out and be a guitar player. I mean, there's a lot of great guitar players, like, for example, Mark Letary from Snarky Puppy. Great guitar player.
Yeah. Just not a household name.
Don't put this in the magazine because I know him. Don't put this in the magazine because I know him.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, he's not the kind of guy that's going to inspire a bunch of kids to get out and learn to play a bunch of scales.
Right.
So,
well, thinking about the future then, where do you see guitar going in the next 10 years?
Well, I think the acoustic and acoustic electrics will always have a place. I mean, it's too easy.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need any extra equipment to sit in your living room and play it. I can sit on my back porch.
Yeah.
Whereas if I want to play my telly, I've got to set up my whole rig because I've got to have the right delay, I've got to have the right reverb, I've got to have the right distortion sound, etc.
Uh-huh.
So the acoustic's always going to have its place, and I see that continuing to grow. As far as electric's concerned, it's going to hold its own because there's a lot of players coming up, a lot of young people learning to play.
Yeah.
But I don't see it growing in the capacity or at the pace that it has in the past. Let's put it that way, because there's just no heroes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, it does, definitely.
And the other thing too is thinking of, and this is slightly off the subject, but
sure.
For example, vintage guitars. I collect guitars, and I'm thinking, am I the last or the next to the last wave of guys that care about these guitars? Because your typical 20-year-old doesn't really give a crap about my 1939 Martin D18.
Mm-hmm. Right.
It's just an old guitar to him. So is that vintage market going to go away in the next few years? 10 years, 20 years? How long is it going to last?
Yeah. I wonder about that too. A, because I wonder when I can score a vintage guitar for less than I can now. And B, it's just, is its time, like, are its days numbered? I don't know. I'd like to think not, but
Well, I'd like to think not too, because I have a lot of money invested in guitars.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Let me see if I have. Oh, I did want to ask you: are there any? Who are some of the guitarists that you listen to now, whether they be classic acts or newer ones?
Guys I listen to at the top of the list, kind of esoteric, Tony Rice.
Mm-hmm.
I listen to Tommy Emmanuel a lot, Richard Smith, Mark Knopfler.
Yeah.
And let's see. Of course, I've always been a Clapton fan.
Mm-hmm.
So I listen to pretty much everything. I'm drawing a blank as to who I listen to more regularly than those guys, but I'd say those are at the top of my list.
Yeah, yeah. And are you then, if you're a two old hippies?
Julian Lodge. I love Julian Lodge's playing.
Oh, he kind of does gypsy swing, but a little more modern, right?
Yeah, exactly.
He's an incredible player.
Yeah, I love his playing.
Yeah. Also, I mean, I've talked to a couple of people for this who are from overseas, from the UK mainly, and I think they have a little bit different image of guitar and rock there. Do you think it's possible that there's more interest from guitar outside of the U.S.?
Well, because American culture typically drives most of the world as far as pop and music is concerned.
Yeah.
And they they do like a lot of the older stuff. Yeah, probably it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Plus with the UK, that's always been a different world anyway. With their that's they've in my opinion they've gone to the cool stuff before we did. You know.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
With the blues revivals of the '60s and stuff like that. I mean, if it weren't for the Brits, nobody would have been listening to that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, it's funny because you think about it, like you said, Clapton had the Les Paul and the Blues Breakers and got Americans to buy an American instrument.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So maybe
there's a great story about that in the book, The Birth of Loud.
The Birth of Loud. Oh, okay.
Yeah, you had to read that. It's a pretty good book.
Yeah, that would be good. I'll look that up.
Yeah, about basically the birth of the electric guitar. Yeah, they got a few factual things wrong. Don't say that in print, but
right.
A few of the things were wrong. But for the most part, it's a really good read. You'd enjoy it.
Cool. Yeah, we'll look that up. I mean, those are pretty much all the questions I had. Is there anything else you'd like to add?
I hope I helped. I mean, I hope it didn't lead you in the wrong direction or anything.
No, you didn't. I will say your views are a little more. I don't want to say pessimistic than some of the other people I talked to, but then again, they might be just.
You have to repeat that. You broke up on me again.
Oh, you had I would say you have a more realistic view than some of the other people I've talked to. A more pragmatic view.
The reason for that is because I'm not involved in the electric guitar market right now.
Right, I know, and that was my follow up. The other guys, for the most part, were so. It makes sense.
Yeah, exactly.
But I appreciate your honesty.
I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm sure you understand.
Whether I was still involved selling electric guitars, I would still see it the same way.
Yeah.
And as far as the acoustic revival, or not even a revival, just its continued growth, the appeal is just there for everybody. It's a segment of the market that I expect to continue to grow quite well.
It makes sense.
At all price points.
Yeah, yeah, and the quality at even the lower levels has gotten better and better over the years.
Oh my
which
God!
has only helped.
The guitar that I could have bought for $150 when I was 15 years old was kind of crappy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But now a $150 guitar is actually playable and sounds okay.
Right. It's incredible what they've done.
It's never been a better time to pick up guitar and be a player.
Yeah. Makes sense. And, the guitar, I think the electric guitar sold well more on the cool factor. And without that there right now, it doesn't look so hot for it. But we'll see. Yeah. I appreciate it again.
Yeah. But again, everything's cyclical. It'll come back.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not saying it's dying. I'm just saying it's kind of in hiding at the moment.
Yeah. Give it time, and we'll see.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Well, man, it was great talking to
Thanks,
you.
Jerry. I appreciate it. Yeah. Have a good rest of the day.
I look forward to meeting you when I come up, which I'll get that scheduled with Billy because I got to come up and do some training with your guys anyway. And then, if not then, definitely in a NAMM show if we ever have another one.
Yeah, we'll see. I know Summer NAMM I think is canceled, right? Officially.
Summer NAMM is canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gonna be doing a virtual NAMM show, a virtual summer show. We can't call it NAMM.
Oh, okay. Nice.
So good enough. Okay. I will. I'll look forward to meeting it.
And me too. And, one other question. Could you just let me know your title at Two Old Hippies?
Oh, Director of Sales.
Director of Sales. Okay, great.
Yep.
Thank you so much, Jerry. Have a good day.
Hey, take care, man.
All right. Bye.